confusing term. Title to a property simply refers to ownership. It is not a physical document or item. Unlike title to a car or boat, it is important to distinguish between the title to a property and the deed. The deed is a document and it transfers title between one party to another. Think of it as the receipt for the property. Title is the actual ownership. An alienation of title is any loss of ownership. An involuntary alienation is a forced loss of ownership, for example, a tax foreclosure, whereas a voluntary alienation, example, real estate sale, is chosen, not forced. When you own real estate, you own it because the person before you in the chain of title, the history of property ownership, is also owned the real estate and granted title, transferred ownership, to you using a deed. This is important to remember since it means that it's possible to have a deed for a property but not actually hold title to that property. For example, if someone that doesn't own the property gives you a deed to it, they aren't actually transferring anything to you with that deed. To be valid, deeds must always meet the following minimum criteria. They must be written per statute of frauds. The grantor must be legally competent. They must name the grantee. They must involve the exchange of consideration, evidenced by a recital of consideration. They must include a complete and accurate description of the land, full legal description. They must include a granting clause, usually just the words grant to. They must have delivery and acceptance. If the interest being granted needs to be defined or limited, e.g. a life estate, the deed will include a ad abhidum clause, Latin for to have and to hold. This is not necessary if the grantor is conveying a fee simple interest. A valid deed does not require some things you might expect, including the signature of the grantee, a date, witnesses, acknowledgement, also known as notarization, or recordation. Recordation, also known as recording, is the act of making the title transfer public record at the county registry of deeds. Although recordation isn't necessary for the validity of the deed, it is strongly recommended. In Massachusetts, typically the buyer's attorney will record the deed and mortgage. Recording provides constructive notice, public notice, as opposed to actual notice, where you are specifically told the information of title transfer and can help the seller and buyer avoid any number of headaches associated with an off-the-books title transfer. Types of deeds. There are 4 types of deeds that transfer title to real estate. The type of deed impacts the extent of the grantor's liability for any further issues with the title to the property. These deeds are general warranty deeds, which require the grantor to accept liability for any claims made against the title to the property, even if the claim originated prior to the grantor's term of ownership. The warranties provided by a general warranty deed are the covenant of season. The grantor warrants they own and may convey the property. Covenant against encumbrances, meaning the grantor warrants the property as unencumbered, and the covenant of further assurances. The grantor promises to obtain and deliver any instruments necessary to provide good title. Covenant of quiet enjoyment. The grantor guarantees that the grantee's title will be good against any court actions, and the covenant of warranty forever. The grantor promises to compensate the grantee for any losses associated with claims against title any time in the future. General warranty deeds are no longer commonly used, but they can be useful when the buyer wants protection against unknown title defects, clouds on title, or other ownership issues. That said, general warranty deeds have largely been replaced by title insurance. We'll discuss title insurance in greater detail later in this section. Specialty warranty needs, or limited warranty specialty warranty deeds. Limited warranty deeds state only that the grantor received title to the property and that they did not cause any issues with it. This means that the grantor is only liable for claims against title if those claims originated during their term of ownership. The grantor is not liable for issues that they did not cause. They are the most common type of deed in the United States, since it often makes sense for the seller to take responsibility for any title issues they themselves have caused. Bargain and sale deeds are deeds where the grantor states that they have the right to convey ownership of the property even if they may not own it, and provides no warranties about ownership. They are often used in tax foreclosures and estate sales. Quitclaim deeds, or non-warranty deeds, state that the grantor conveys only whatever interest the grantor has at the time of conveyance. No warranties are made, which means that the grantor is not liable for any claims against the title. Quitclaim deeds are often used in bank foreclosures and can also be used to correct mistakes in the public record. For example, a misspelled name on a previous deed. There are also other special use deeds. Those are deeds of trust, or trust deeds, which are used to transfer interest in real estate into trusts. They are used in some statutes in lieu of a mortgage, since putting the property into a trust that the lender has access to can expedite and simplify the foreclosure process in some states. Reconveyance deeds, which trustees use to return property to trustors. Example, remove property, form a trust. Trustee deeds, which are deeds executed by the trustee to convey real estate to anyone besides the trustor. Deeds executed pursuant to a court order, which are any deeds issued as a result of a will or a court order. How property transfers work. Transfers or conveyance of real estate usually follow a standard sequence of events. Note that not every transfer will follow this sequence, nor will transfers exhibit every part of the sequence. This is simply a common example sequence. First, the property is listed and put under an agreement referred to in the basics section. After the P&S is signed, the buyer's lender, usually a bank, hires an attorney or title company, used instead of attorneys in many states, to perform a title search in order to examine the chain of title and determine if there are any problems with the ownership of the property, clouds on title. If there are any issues, the seller must rectify them before closing. The status of title is then outlined in an abstract of title and a corresponding opinion of title. In Massachusetts, attorneys conduct the closing. At the closing, the seller's broker brings the buyer's deposit, usually 5% of the purchase price that was given at the P&S signing. This deposit, plus the loan and the buyer's remaining down payment, pay for the property. In exchange for this money, the seller, or grantor, provides a deed to the buyer, grantee, transferring ownership of the property. The buyer gives the lender a note to evidence their debt and a mortgage to secure the debt. The bank's attorney conducts this process and also performs another last-minute title search to double-check that nothing has changed with the property. If nothing has changed, the bank's attorney records all of the documents associated with the sale, along with a municipal lien certificate, which creates a public record that the bank is the first lien hold on the property in event of foreclosure. Lastly, the attorney pays the seller and the seller's broker. The seller's broker then pays the buyer's broker their split of the commission. Any recorded documents are duplicated and digitized by the Registry of Deeds to provide a public record of transfer. Public records are available online in Massachusetts at masslandrecords.com. The deed will be handed to the administrative staff at the Registry of Deeds, where the property is located in. They will review it and verify all the required details are there, as well as ensure signatures are legible and original. If a notary was required, they'll check that too, along with any references to attachments. If any personal information was on the documents, such as social security numbers, they will have that redacted prior to the recording. A record will be made in the county property book, and that page and book number will be indicated on the deed. After a copy is made, the deed is returned to the title or escrow agent. Massachusetts recording stamps. Recording stamps are an expense paid by the seller if the deed is recorded at the county registry of deeds. If the seller does not record their deed, they are still supposed to pay for the recording stamps, although some people may try not to. The stamps are a fee for recording and selling. They do not have any impact on the quality of the title. An excise tax applies to all deeds with a consideration greater than $100. They are also known as documentary stamps, excise tax, revenue stamps, deed stamps, transfer tax, transfer stamps, or conveyance stamps. Recording stamps cost $2.28 per 500, or sometimes seen as $4.56 per 1,000, of recorded value in every county in Massachusetts except for Barnstable County. Barnstable County charges $3.24 per 500. Stamps are only charged on cash value of the sale, so if a loan is assumed as part of the sale, that amount is subtracted from the purchase price before the calculation. You cannot purchase a partial stamp, so the sales price is always rounded up to an even $500 increment before calculating the recording fee. Land description and surveys. One of the minimum criteria of a valid deed is a complete and accurate description of the land, or a full legal description. Full legal descriptions of the land is the property address, a land description, more on these below, and a title reference to any public records for the property. A licensed surveyor performs a survey of the land and drafts the land description. A survey sketch shows the location and dimension of the land itself, and a spot survey shows the location and dimension of the land, plus the location, size, and shape of the improvements on the lot. Note that not all the surveys include a warranty or surveyor liability. An improvement location certificate is not a complete survey, for example, and might not satisfy the need, one in court or for the bank. You might see a number of units of measurement used in the survey. They are 1 link, which is 7.92 inches, 1 foot, 12 inches, 1 yard, 3 feet, 1 rod, 16 feet 6 inches. One chain, 66 feet. 1 furlong, 660 feet. 1 mile, 5,280 feet. 1 acre, 43,560 square feet. 1 chain by 1 furlong. 1 square mile, 640 acres, and more. There are several methods of land description that you might encounter. Metes and bounds. A metes and bounds survey is the most common type of land description. It outlines the lot lines, boundaries of the property. By describing directions, bounds, and distances, metes between monuments, markers like concrete posts or benchmarks, permanent markers established throughout the United States, starting and ending at a point of beginning. A datum is a point used to measure elevations, usually defined as the mean sea level of New York Harbor or some local official datum. An example metes and bounds survey might read, a plot of land located in Boston, Suffolk County, Massachusetts, beginning at the intersection of Canal and Causeway Street, running south along Canal Street 304 feet, west to Front Street 150 feet more or less, north to the intersection of Causeway Street and Front Street, and then east along Causeway Street to the intersection of Canal and Causeway Street. Lot and block surveys. Plat maps are another method of surveying land. They are recorded plans for a division or municipality and use the lot and block method. The lot and block method divides the property by streets into blocks and then subdivides those blocks into lots using metes and bounds method for each individual lot. The total area of the parcel of land is also described using a metes and bounds survey. An example lot and block survey might read, Lot 43, Block 17, Green Acres home in the city of Portland, according to the plat thereof, recording in Volume 6 of Plats, page 84, in the Multnomah County, Oregon. Government Rectangular Survey System, or also known as the Public Land Survey System or Rectangular Survey System. It was established by Congress in the Land Ordinance Act of 1785 to standardize land descriptions and is used in most of the United States, though not in the original 13 colonies. This method divides land into rectangles using intersection principal meridians running north to south and baselines running east to west. There are 37 principal meridians in the United States, each referenced by name or number, and no parcel of land is described using more than one principal meridian. We don't use rectangular surveys in Massachusetts, but you have to know them for the test. A government rectangular survey outlines land using several different types of lines. Tiers are also referred to as township lines. The squares created by the intersections of these township lines range and are known as townships. A township is 6 miles by 6 miles, containing 36 square miles. Each township is designated based on the tier it's located in, its range, and the name or number of principal meridian. Townships are then divided into 36 sections, size 1 square mile, 1 mile by 1 mile, and numbered from 1 to 36, running east to west, then west to east on alternating lines from north to south. Northeastern corner is always the first section. The 16th section is called the school section, since it was traditionally used for school purposes. And each of these sections is divided into halves of 320 acres or quarters of 160 acres. Those are further subdivided into quarters and halves, and so on and so forth. These subdivisions are then described using the directions and portions of each section. For example, SE 1/4 and N 1/2 would be the southeast quarter of the northeast half of the section. As a cheat sheet, the sizes for each area in the government rectangle survey are a quadrangle, check, which is 24 by 24, 576 square miles. A township, which is 6 by 6 or 36 square miles. A section, which is 1 mile by 1 mile or a square mile. A half section, which is 1 mile by a half a mile, half square mile. A quarter section, which is a half mile by a half mile or a quarter square mile. Half of a quarter section, which is a half mile by a quarter mile, 1/8 square mile, and a fourth of a quarter section, fourth by a fourth mile, 1/16 square mile, or 40 acres. Putting this all together, a land description using the government rectangular survey might read: the S half of the NW quarter of the SE fourth, section 16, township 7, north of the second parallel, range 9 west of the 6th principal meridian. To work this out, you'd work backwards from the end of this description, reading right to left. So we'd find the 6th principal meridian and find its baseline second. On a regional map, you'd then find the township by counting 9 range sections west of the 6th principal meridian and then 7 townships north of the baseline. This would be our township. You then divide the 16th section of the township into quarters, divide SE 4 in quarters, divide NW 1/4, the top half, into halves, and the southern half of NW 1/4 would contain the property. Rectangular land descriptions will usually include the county and state where the property is located, since meridians often cross multiple states or several baselines. Also note that a rectangular survey might also include a meets and bounds survey if the tract of the land is irregular, too small to be used describing the quarters, or if it does not follow the prescribed lot and block lines, quarter section lines, or other fractional lines.